we are recognizing cryptocurrencies, we are recognizing stable coins, and it's not just under the control of a banking corporation, it's also recognizing that crypto companies, tech companies, can produce a currency of some description.
Hello and welcome to The Great Wealth here on Edge Radio Australia. Gentlemen by my side, and you are truly a gentleman. You know,
well, thank you.
Sometimes I wonder how you get in here. We've got a dress code, you break that. You know, a general demeanour code, you break that.
Secret handshake.
That's what it is. It is genuinely a gentleman. Great to see you through.
It's always good to be here.
Mate, we like to do things. We like to live on the edge. And today we're going to do all of that because, we've got some videos and so all sorts of interesting stuff to watch. Now, do you want to give us a bit of a, before we start pressing buttons, bit of a rundown of some of the things we're going to talk about today?
Some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, it's controversial. All right.
Well, I can't imagine that.
No. So a lot of people are concerned. A lot of people are fearful. Mm-hmm. And I understand. I get it. And I ask that you put fear aside. Fear is never a good decision to make one investment decisions on or life decisions on or any decision for that matter. Fear is not a good thing. So I want to put the fear aside. I can understand why there's concerns and fear. We'll talk through that as we walk through it. Mm-hmm. But what I want to talk about is there has been a historic happening in the financial system that is really changing the game big time. And a lot of the headlines have taken the limelight away from it, the whole Epstein stuff and all that kind of thing. And I think people don't realize the magnitude of what has just been passed in the United States as far as the finance world is concerned. And that's where I'm going with this. So if we look at what's been going to lay the foundation, you may recall this conflict that happened when Soviets took on, or Russia took on the Ukraine. And there was big concern there because sanctions occurred after that. And one of the sanctions that occurred under the Biden administration was they locked Russia out of the SWIFT banking system. And they used the US dollar to weaponize against them. And that really was a wake-up call to many of the nations associated with Russia, particularly in the BRICS, the formation of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Now, many other nations are joined as what they call as partner nations under that, but this is representing like 45% of the world's population. And so,
you stole the words out of my mouth. This is a big part of the population of the earth. Absolutely.
So what I want to show here is look at the BRICS response when it comes to the US dollar. Let's set the groundwork, and then I'll take you into what we call Crypto Week and what's been going on. Take a look.
Let's have a look.
Heard specific threats from Washington coming against BRICS, saying that BRICS undermines the interests of the United States. Well, let me say this. Earlier, President Trump had a different opinion on that. He directly said that actions made by the Biden administration using the dollar as a weapon has undermined the authority and the respect for the dollar as a currency, irreversible damage. And I'm sure he understands how true that assessment was and how the BRICS and the Latin American communities and other organizations have been trying to find ways to settle trade in other currencies to be insured against this actions coming from Washington. This is a process that's happening. Everyone understands that, including Trump, and this process cannot be stopped. It's not something that we wanted. We didn't want to run from the dollar, or other countries never wanted to do that. It was the Americans that tried to use the dollar to punish those who they deem to be acting wrongly, not in accordance with their rules-based world order. But to be perfectly serious about our threats, it's not our profession to be worried. So we're not worried about anything. Our job is to work under the guidance of international law and respect those principles, and there's no other way our country could behave. So once again, we have all the reasons to believe that countries that are members of BRICS are sovereign, independent countries, and they value and treasure such status.
So this backfired in the United States.
It certainly has.
And some say it was on purpose, that it was there to sabotage and weaken the strength of the United States. What you got to understand is this is something that Trump's inherited. Now, other thing is that he who controls the currency has sovereign power or greater power, and especially when it's high demand. So that's the beauty that the United States had, especially with the petrodollar agreement that it had, which wasn't re-signed in June of 2024 with Saudi Arabia, which meant that all oil deals had to be done in US dollars. So since then, the BRICS nations have been trading in their own local currencies. And so there's less demand for the US dollar in this instance. So that's the groundwork. That's the response from the BRICS nations.
So does that devalue the US dollar, the petrodollar internationally?
Yeah, it kind of challenges the authenticity and strength of the US dollar when other nations are going, you know what, below that, we're not going to do oil deals in that sort of stuff. And it also undermines the whole SWIFT banking system. Now, that's one of the issues that Trump has inherited. The other one, of course, is the massive debt that the United States is in, where the interest alone just to pay on their interest that they've borrowed is greater than their military spending each year. It's massive.
And we know the US spend a lot of money on their military too.
They do. And they believe in this policy of peace through strength. So that's what's really, really fascinating. Now, what happened this week is we've called it Crypto Week. So 3 acts were expected to be passed at this time that would be debated through. They'd passed the Senate on the Genius Act, the one at the bottom there. And there's also the Clarity Act and the Anti-CBD Surveillance State Act. Now, let's go through each of what those might mean, all right, in different terms.
I'd certainly like the Clarity Act because I want to understand what this is all about.
A lot of people have wanted clarity. Let's start with the Clarity Act then. That is defining how crypto is regulated, the SEC versus the whole crypto world. So are they actually just programming stuff and it's just data that they're putting out there, or does it actually represent something or mean something? The whole thing, is it a security or is it a commodity? All these things need to be legally defined. That's what the Clarity Act is trying to create some clarity around that, pardon the pun, and because crypto companies have basically faced legal uncertainty as they've created these things in trying to go to the SEC. Are we breaking the law or not? Can you give us some clarity here? And a lot of them have turned around and found they were in a lawsuit with the SEC in the former administration. So this act is really wanting to create regulatory definitions of what you can create, how you can create it, why you can create it, etc. So that's very important from a legal standpoint.
Well, exactly. We'll go back to clarity. I mean, obviously, it's written all over it. But everyone needs to know exactly where they stand. It's really that basic.
Then there is the CBDC one. And that one is basically preventing a centralized bank issuing a crypto for surveillance purposes. And this is the privacy concern is really, really huge here. So when we look at this, what they're wanting is banning the Federal Reserve issuing a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. And why the big concern about that is this, is that if a centralized bank has the right to produce a CBDC, it can expire. It's just as easily as they put it in a wallet, they can take it out.
Right.
Right. Secondly, if it expires, it means you can't have any savings, right? It can also regulate what you can and can't spend. Imagine going to the petrol bowser and your carbon credits have been used up for the month because you took a holiday down south and did too much filling of the tank. Well, we're going to restrict you from buying more fuel. I mean, that's the ultimate control that it's giving over to a privatized bank. And that's the big concern in the United States about that. And I'm going to come back to that very soon.
And we've just got Shaq has just arrived, and we're going to bring him in because I'm sure he's got an opinion. Welcome to the chat there, Shaq.
Me having an opinion, no chance. And we would say I just arrived. I was here 5 minutes before you started, looking at you guys blankly looking off into the distance.
Is that why my phone's been buzzing every 3 minutes? Okay,
there we go.
Yeah.
But we'll miss rather all the friendliness here. We'll get straight into it because we've already stolen 5 minutes of your time. So
no, that's exactly right. I do want to come in and talk about the control the government wants to have, but I'll let you. I'll not let you, but Derek, keep going, and we'll come back to it because obviously I have a few choice things to say about government control.
We've got a lot to cover on this. So we've gone through the Clarity Act. We've gone through the Anti-CBDC Act. And now the big one that has actually passed, those two haven't passed yet, the ones I've just mentioned. Okay. We've got the Genius Act, which is a stable coin regulation. So that is very focused on stable coins. So there's like 3 different cryptocurrency coins. There is stable coins, which are allowing you to, it's backed by 1-to-1. So you can have like a US dollar. And so that coin represents $1.
Sure.
Or you could do that with gold or any other kind of asset.
Yeah, but it's backed.
Correct. The other ones are utility coins, which means they have a real world function. And then you got meme coins, which are kind of like, just for fun, a collector's item, kind of like your Trump and Melania coins. Yeah, that's what they are. All right. They're just novelty stuff. And they say they have no financial backing or operation.
It's Pokemons.
Right. So those things have been debated between the House of Representatives and the Senate this week. And the President of the United States put into act the Genius Act. Now, we'll have a good look at what he was doing and why he did this. Have a look at this next clip here.
Strength of America. This is going to make it stronger, and congratulations on this incredible achievement. You've made our dollar look really good and strong and powerful. It's good for the dollar and it's good for the country. And that's why I backed you at an early stage. And I also did it for the votes, because you did come out and vote. I will tell you.
So that's there. Now have a look at this next clip. Finally, this is it actually coming into existence.
Is this one?
Yep, just for the historical record. So he is signing it in, underway. These journos didn't have the best angle in the room, unfortunately.
This is not an auto pen, by the way. Which is a big scandal. If that were a Republican, it would really be a big scandal. But it is one of the great scandals of our time. Thank you very much, everybody.
So signing this act is massive. It's huge, because what it means is that now we are recognizing cryptocurrencies, we are recognizing stable coins, and it's not just under the control of a banking corporation, it's also recognizing that crypto companies, tech companies, can produce a currency of some description. Right.
Well, and okay, so the United States pretty much has said before that they are the only ones who can actually make a currency in that country, right?
No, it's all been down to the Federal Reserve.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it's not a governmental thing. All right. I'll just bring Shaq back.
Well, it's in relation to the government. If the government wants currency, it sells bonds, which are IOUs. The central bank, the Federal Reserve, buys that, goes to the printing press, produces however many dollars they want in exchange for those bonds. And they distribute it through the retail banks. Okay. So you get your fresh notes through the retail banks that way. And that distribution method is now coming under challenge because they're going recognizing, hey, a tech company can produce a stable coin.
That's right.
This is huge.
That's exactly right. Shaq, your thoughts there?
Well, before the creation of the Fed and before greenbacks came about, individual banks around the United States used to create their own paper currency. And there were some issues with counterfeiting and things like that, but basically there was a lot of trust put into the issues of those currencies, and if you didn't trust a particular bank or a particular note, well, you wouldn't accept it. Now I get it that having legal tender gives you some sense of security, but hey, I think this is probably one of the good things about crypto is that you can trust the things. And just to get away from stablecoins for a minute, you can certainly see gold-backed cryptos, and there's several of them. There's not just one. There's many of them, and I think that would probably be the future. I think that what Trump's doing is reasonably good, but I am a little bit apprehensive about the government getting involved in something that was originally kind of libertarian dream. You had a payment system and a store of value and a way to transfer money without government control.
Oh, that's right. I mean, that's the great independent, that's great freedom-based thing about crypto, isn't it? It's exactly that. It's not controlled by the reserve or any particular government.
What's extraordinary here is you have crypto companies like Tether backing their stablecoin USDT with $8 billion in gold in a Swiss vault. So what we're seeing is that some of the largest gold holdings are now going to crypto organizations.
Wow.
And it's expected that, stablecoins could be a massive holder of US Treasury notes now as well, because it's going to have to be pegged to something. You just can't create some thin digital program
Sure.
and it's not backed by anything. They're saying, hey, it's got to represent something. Now, this is massive because, of course, the US dollar was depegged back in 1972 by the Nixon administration.
That's right, yep.
It no longer was pegged to gold. Now there's a change, a move back to actually saying it has to be represented by something.
Okay, I'm not a great scholar of the history of money before 1971, 72. So, because the law it basically happened in 71 and it was actually put into legislation in 72. Is that correct?
It was up to that time,
yeah,
backed by gold,
okay, yeah,
the US dollar, and then it was depegged.
So, okay, did they have far less inflation back before? Has that changed that?
Well, certainly. One of the things we've seen is that the buying power of the dollar is massively decreased to what it originally was.
Sure.
Now it's like something 10 cents of what it used to buy previously.
Of course, over the last 50 odd years.
Yeah,
so that's right,
as they print more.
What I'm saying is, and I probably put it badly here, is okay. There has always been inflation. Okay, was inflation smaller before it was linked to the gold?
Yeah,
standard?
because your dollar would actually represent something. But
yeah, okay.
what we've seen, of course, under the Biden administration is so much printing going on during that term that the available cash that was out there in the economy was extraordinary compared to historical printing press runs that they used to do. And it was like, let's print our way.
To be fair, it's not just Biden. To be fair, Republicans in power have done that as well. I mean, it's been a mess over the last 40 or 50 years since they got off the gold standard. And quite frankly, I don't want to be too harsh on the United States, but I don't know why the world doesn't consider that to be a default. Right, President Nixon just unilaterally went, I'm suspending the redeemability of our currency into gold. And something that's happened recently is that Germany and somebody else in Europe have talked, Italy, I think, have talked about repatriating their gold back to their own countries. And I don't think that that's actually, an attack on Trump. I think it's a matter of sovereignty that, if you've got gold, your country should hold it yourself. I mean, look, I love New Zealand, but I don't want Australia's gold supply to be in a vault in New Zealand. You know what I mean? Like, it's Australian sovereignty. We should be holding it.
New Zealand doesn't have any gold, by the way. So that's the extraordinary thing. All other countries do, but the Kiwis.
None at all.
No.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Well, we've got something we can tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. They've got. So what is actually backing the New Zealand dollar? Here's the concern, and I'm going to present the other side of this argument. Some people who have been holding crypto think fantastic because, of course, it's resulted in a bit of a bull run this week as far as the cryptocurrencies are concerned. But on the flip side of this, not everyone is thrilled by this, including Republicans. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene and her comment on it. I've found this, unfortunately, this clip's got a little bit of music behind it, this sort of stuff, but have a listen to what she's had to say in relation to all of the going-ons as far as this is concerned. Yep.
I'm very confused about the Genius Act. I thought there was a deal made by the president to make sure that included was going to be the central bank digital currency. There'd be no possibility of a backdoor to get that. So where are we?
Steve, let me explain something. In 1971, we went off of the gold standard. The Federal Reserve did that. And we went to cash, a cash society, and the value of the dollar has drastically gone down to the buying power is less than 10 cents now from where it was in the 1950s before we went off the gold reserve. What's happening today on July 17th and 2025 when no one is paying attention, no one's talking about it, everyone is in blind rage about the Epstein files, and I don't blame them. However, right now, what is being voted on today in Congress is the entire setup, groundwork, and entire infrastructure being laid to move from cash to digital currency. And the number one thing that is not happening today is a ban on a central bank digital currency. This means the ability for the government to take control of your digital bank account where all your money is and turn it off. And this is why I'm so upset, and it's not being talked about Steve, I was the only no vote on the rule last night. And Congress set a record last night, and no one's talking about that either. This was the longest vote held open for a rule in history. And it finally shut down sometime around midnight because there was a deal made, and the deal will not be honored. It was a deal that Speaker Johnson made, and he said that he would put a ban on central bank digital currency in the NDAA. But let me tell you something. That's going to get stripped out in the Senate because what they told us all week long is the Senate does not have the votes to pass a ban on a central bank digital currency. So I want to lay this out straight for you all. You never thought in your lifetime that the government would shut you down, would close your churches, would close your schools, would close your business. And that happened only a few years ago. But what is happening today is the groundwork is being laid, and it's all in the name of cryptocurrency and stablecoin. But it is the entire regulatory process to switch us from cash to a cashless society to digital currency that can be controlled by the federal government. And there will be no ban on a central bank digital currency. There will be no way to protect your ability to fully control your digital currency in the future. And I'm voting no to this today. I don't know if there'll be any other no votes on the Republican side, but I'm voting no to this because I'm a Christian and I've read the Bible and I believe what Revelations 13:16 through 17 says, and I just cannot vote for a future system that will do that.
But that's okay, hang on, but I thought at one time you had a dozen or maybe 25, you had the House Freedom Caucus plus others that are saying, hey, we don't support any possibility of having a central bank digital currency. A lot of them are concerned about things in the Genius Act overall, but they're prepared to, say, we'll let that go forward, but they're adamant about the central bank digital currency. Where are all the other dozen, 20, 24 people that were with you?
They remain concerned. Don't get me wrong. My colleagues remain. I'm not in the Freedom Caucus, so I'm going to lay that out right there. My colleagues remain concerned about a central bank digital currency. As a matter of fact, that was expressed as a concern by Republicans in every meeting that I was in. But yet there was no massive effort on a large scale to stop a central bank digital currency. It's just this. They were saying, we've got to deliver. The president wants this passed. We didn't even know about the Genius Act until Monday, but they're saying we have to have this passed. He wants a signing ceremony on Friday. He wants this done, and they're willing to push it forward without guaranteeing and passing on the front end. My demand is let's do this on the front end. Let's stop the central bank digital currency first, and then let's pass this stuff. But no one is willing to do that. They were willing to make deals that I don't believe will hold because we were told all week, Steve, by everyone that a ban on CBDC, central bank digital currency, will not pass in the Senate. There are not 60 votes for that. So by Johnson putting it in the NDAA and saying this is our effort to get it to pass, it doesn't mean that it's going to pass in the Senate. They're going to gut it out. We watched them do that with the BBB. They're going to do it with Clarity, the other Bitcoin, the market regulatory bill that will pass today. They do this all the time, and the House constantly gets jammed. And here's one thing that really makes me angry, Steve. This was a closed rule. Johnson did not allow us to make amendments to the Genius Act, to make an amendment to put a ban on CBDC in the Genius Act. We were told you don't have a right to amendments. You don't get to do your legislative process anymore. You just have to vote on it. And they forced it through, making what I think is a fake deal. And I wish the Freedom Caucus had held, but they didn't. They want to work and they want to pass the president's agenda, and I do too. But I'm not willing to go along with the pathway to a central bank digital currency in a cashless society where none of us can control our money. Because I don't trust the government, and no one else should trust the government. And just because this administration is committed to that doesn't mean that a future administration will not lock down our bank accounts if we are not doing and saying what they want us to do. We've already been there. That was the past 4 years. I don't want to ever go back to that, and I don't want that future for my children, Steve. And so I am upset today. I'm adamantly no to this. And I wish I had more Republicans standing with me.
So a lot going on there. What I think is interesting is that she was expecting this to also be included in the Genius Act.
Sure.
I think the staging of it has been that this has come after, and I think that's probably what she's upset about. And she's arguing that it should have happened first before the Genius Act was going on. So it's
How
really
partisan is this? How partisan is
well,
this?
she's a Republican.
Yeah, no, I realise that.
Yeah.
So and they've got control of both houses. So like, you know, this frightens me a little. Well, not a little bit, quite a lot.
Okay. I think there is opportunity here.
Okay.
I think eventually, yes, okay, it is looking like the beast system, as they call it. And there are a lot of freedom fighters who are concerned about that.
Very much so.
Right. But I think there's a window of opportunity to get out of that beast system right now. And you've got to take an opportunity of this. Let me put it in perspective too, what's happening in Australia. Atlas 21 on July the 11th of this year put out an article that said the Australian Central Bank kicks off trials with CBDCs and stablecoins in the wholesale financial market. The Reserve Bank of Australia announced the launch of new experimental phase CBDCs, stablecoins, and bank deposit tokens to explore the potential of digital money in wholesale financial markets. It's called Project Acacia, a joint initiative between the RBA and the Digital Finance Cooperative Research Centre, launched in November this year. The goal is to understand how CBDCs and tokenization can improve efficiency within Australian financial markets. Now, they are testing 24 different use cases. 19 will involve real money, 5 proof of concept using 4 of the largest banks in Australia. 3 of the 4, Commonwealth Bank, ANZ, and Westpac are involved in this. And Commonwealth is working alongside JP Morgan. ANZ is leading the use case trial for tokenized trade debts, aiming to address working capital and cash flow challenges faced by suppliers. And ASIC is allowing them exemptions from certain regulations to enable testing of assets not currently covered by existing legislation. The trial phase set to last 6 months, with the results to be published in the first quarter of 2026. And the tests will cover these areas: diverse range of asset classes, including fixed income, private markets, trade credit, carbon credits, and new applications for bank accounts held with RBA.
There seems to be a lot of distraction and moving of the shelves at the moment, because the other thing that I've noticed over the last couple of days is that the Australian government have come out and said that apparently $1.2 billion has been in, I'm sorry, I don't know the period, that's the amount, 1.2 billion in, look, just, you know, the hidden little fees every time you use your card, right? Or those extra couple of cents here, apparently in the not so distant past, it's been $1.2 billion. So the Australian government's trying to make big fellas of themselves and say, hey, we're going to put through legislation to stop that from happening. And eventually, after this legislation, there'll be no additional cost to use digital money. And I think that's just a way of softening stuff.
Well, I think digital money is going to reduce a lot of the costs in admin, big time.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that's one of the big advantages of it is it's less handling of it. It can happen in seconds, as opposed to, particularly in cross-border payments that happen over a week, you know, to get money from here to the US or whatever it's being wired.
A comment that Travis brought up before, if I just bring it
changes
up
many hands, and this can be happening in seconds. So there are benefits to cryptocurrency.
Oh, no doubt about it. So the border thing, if I can just find the comment, there we go. This is something that was brought up from Travis. I'll just bring it up on the screen. Okay. So, I mean, basically, Vietnam's just signed crypto to be legal for cross-border money transactions. That'll make a big difference. No question about it.
And I mean, Vietnam is in a very interesting place because a lot of manufacturing is going there. It's moved from China to Vietnam over the years. And with the tariffs that Trump's doing, more is coming and pouring into that nation.
Well, that's true. I mean, the whole idea, obviously, of the tariffs is to get more manufacturing back into the US. But, you know, the world is not the US. There's still there's a lot of trade to be done.
And also comparing the tariff rates from China as opposed to Vietnam.
Yep.
You know, China was certainly on a higher rate than Vietnam for a while there. And so there's a lot of argy-bargy between them. I want to have a look at just this final thing. This has been planned for quite some time. Take a look at this slide here. It's a big admission. And I've been saying this to people and promoting this and saying the banks are quietly changing the system with that. This is from Mastercard, and this is what they put out there. With the Genius Act now passed, we're entering a new era of clarity and confidence in digital assets, one we've been preparing for over the years. They've been right across this. We've worked across crypto and traditional finance ecosystems to explore how stablecoins can complement and enhance existing payment systems. So there you go. And if you read that article, that they're there, they have been across this for some time, anticipating this is all going. What's been held up, of course, is the SEC fighting a lot of the cryptocurrencies, and of course lack of legislation, because banks cannot operate outside their licenses. Otherwise they could be themselves lose their licenses to bank. So
all right, so in everyday language,
yeah, what
difference is this going to make to Joe Public?
Okay, for those who've been trading crypto for a while, they welcome the news, because it's there's big money lining up as this traditional finance is starting to merge with this new technology. So those who are holding crypto like this at the moment, because they think, excellent, my assets are going to go up in value. Right. All right. So that's great news for them from that perspective. From an industry perspective, it welcomes it because finally it's got some clarity. The crypto world has got some clarity as to what the rules are. What I expect that to happen is, as the regulation increases, that a lot of the crypto companies are going to just fall by the wayside, because they will not be compliant. There'll be less players in it, and it'll be a less competitive world out there in terms of, hey, we expect this, this, and this. And
so the gains will be smaller, though.
Absolutely. So this adoption is going to go mainstream. We're going to see a lot of ETFs on the stock exchange be approved with exposure to cryptos in this year, in the next coming months, and the following year. We've already seen some of those play out. That's going to increase. So we're going to see also tokenization of assets. We're going to see real estate market eventually moving to this.
We're seeing that now. That's already happening.
Dubai's already moving to this. So this is a game changer, this whole thing. This is the biggest economy of the world, recognizing this asset class and making it legal. From a futuristic perspective, there are major concerns about CBDCs and the control of money, because now it's less private, because it's out there on a public ledger. And so there's always a kind of a bit of a trade-off here, and others are concerned that, you know, this leads directly another step closer to the beast system, where there is no cash, it's all digital. So yeah, that's where we're heading.
To me, that's terribly concerning.
Well,
what do you
have a look at the language that Mastercard used there? That this is something we've been preparing for quite a while. They don't want to have their interchange fees that they charge to merchants and banks and all of that. They don't want to see that go away. So this is their way in. And you're absolutely right. It's a way for them to protect themselves. We fast entering that sort of decentralized finance and things like that. There's been a massive increase in private credit. That's been the big growth area in the United States at the moment, as opposed to private equity. And that's been something that the top end of town has used to obtain credit. So the logical next step is that you get private credit. I mean, how many people here complain about not being able to get access to loans for their businesses, or access to loans, home loans and things like that? They're gone are the days of the low doc or no doc loans these days. But in a decentralized environment, peer-to-peer type lending, that could happen. Now, if you let the big banks and the government get involved here, what they're going to inevitably do is regulate in such a way that a lot of the things that makes crypto so attractive will be less attractive in the future. And I think MTG made some good points there. The only thing I'm a little bit unsure about is her comments about wanting to ban CBDCs, because the issue is that even if they were successfully able to do that, one Congress is not able to bind a future Congress. That even if they passed a ban, it wouldn't prevent them from being able to do it again in the future. And even if they were able to successfully pass a ban that would prevent the United States from ever being able to credit a CBDC, that's not going to prevent other countries from doing it. I'm highly concerned actually about the government and the big existing banks and things like Visa and Mastercard, etc. We're concerned about them trying to get involved here.
The European Central Bank is already experimenting on CBDCs and has been talking about it this way for a while. So yes, it's fascinating to watch how that will play out. And of course, the relationship that it has to the United States. Bear in mind that US is also wanting to be the crypto capital of the world. So it's making tax breaks very, very attractive for crypto companies to develop their technology within their borders, avoid tariffs, avoid taxes.
As long as you do the business at home.
Yeah. In the US. And for companies that have produced, I wasn't going to say CBDC, cryptocurrencies outside, this is a very attractive offer to migrate over there and, hey, we'll do business in the United States.
But as I said, I think the issue for the whole world, for those of us that care about our freedom and not having too much government interference, is wherever this is domiciled, even if it's domiciled in the United States right now under this administration, which is one that we tend to like for the most part. We don't know what future US governments are going to look like. And if we look at it historically, the US government tends to want more and more control over every other country in the world. I mean, that's sort of the history of them.
Oh, for the last 80 years, it's been all about American dominance. Let's face it. We were talking obviously about the BRICS nations earlier, and the fact that America stepped in, and when there was a conflict with Ukraine, they used financial sanctions to control, world policy of other countries, and they've got such a history of it. Who ever sees that changing? And if we give them even more control, it puts citizens in a very vulnerable position.
There's also the argument there's also the argument the central banks have been the ones who can control much of the population and their spending as well. And this is an interesting move because now they don't have full control of the issuance of cryptocurrencies. So it's at the moment, in the short term, I think, yes, there is this new balance of power shifting.
Sure.
But yes, back to your arguments in the long term, I think those are very legitimate concerns for other nations as well.
Well, and that's why I think that you'll see enormous growth with the BRICS, and not least of which is that you can't just sanction everybody all the time. 1/3 of the world's economy is currently under sanction, and that represents, from last time I checked, something like half the world's population. Well, what do you think they're going to do? Like, of course, they're going to look for alternatives, and so I think this is a real concern for them, and I think that the more libertarian viewpoint on things like the Fed and central banks for a long time now is that we should get rid of them. Now, I won't get into that argument as to whether they should or shouldn't exist, but certainly the idea that we can create money or money-like instruments without reference to a central bank, I think, is a very positive thing.
It would be amazing to see the central banks and the gatekeepers of control there. It would it would be good to see it all fall over and a new system come into place, but let's face it, that would have a catastrophic effect on the world.
I think you're going to see the old guard die off very quickly, and I've been saying that for a while.
I know you have, and that's why I'm sort of circumspect about the way I say it, because I'm concerned. Like, I want that to happen, but at the same time, what sort of effect is it going to have on everyday people, on economy? So
you're concerned about the door it opens once that occurs. I see where you're coming. Look.
Well, as I said before, I've used this example a few times now on a few different shows. I was on holidays up in Coffs Harbour, and I ordered some alcohol from Uber Eats delivery. Now, there was 11 adults that were arriving at various times, and I get an email because I placed 6 or 7 orders in one night, and I get an email from them saying that they're looking after my health and that they're going to worry about things in line with the DrinkWise policy, etc., and so they're going to review my alcohol consumption, and they may put a restriction on my alcohol consumption. Now, the government wouldn't do that, but they're going to do it because they don't want to upset the government, right? So, to stop crypto or Mastercard, if they get involved in this, what's to stop these companies from adopting those same sorts of things? And I'll take that back, what I said about government not doing it. If you guys remember, during COVID, there were some people that were made to quarantine in New South Wales, I believe it was, and they were told that they were only allowed to order a 6-pack of beer per day, that they couldn't order any more. Now, who the hell's the government to come up and tell you that?
That's right. No, they love control. When they really pushed, remember when they really pushed duty of care? That became a big thing with just about everything. The duty of care sort of, to me, it's kind of like a gateway drug to control. There's these kind of things. Whenever people are intrusive into your life, and whether they be government or through government, I mean, okay, let's look at the last 5 years where the government did horrendous things, enslaved the population, but put their hands up and went, hey, it's just a mandate. It's the businesses doing it, not us, right?
Well, look at what happened. Look at what happened with that absolutely amazing former Prime Minister of Canada with those truckers.
Look,
you may not have agreed with the truck. I mean, I know most of you guys do, but you may not have agreed with what the truckers were doing. That's fine. That's up to you. In a free society, we should all be able to make our own decisions. And then Trudeau goes out there and says, "Well, no, we're going to block their bank accounts, but if you've donated money to them, I'm going to block your account." I mean, what the hell is that? And the problem with the government getting involved in this space is it becomes even easier for them to do it.
It does. No question about it. Very, very quick indeed. The overstep of government into our bank accounts, and I mean, look, okay, Canada and Australia, let's look at those two as examples, have both let completely just insane far left governments back in. I mean, when I looked at Canada, I didn't think there was any way in the world that with that election that mob would get back in. That whatever the side is, that the far left anyway, and the same thing happened in Australia. Like, you've got to really worry about our elections and the fact that they keep importing people to vote for these people. Yeah.
Well, I found it interesting.
Plus outside to be fair, I mean, what a mess. I mean, the Liberal Party in Australia, the way they ran that campaign was just a disgrace. I mean, what were they expecting?
They didn't run the campaign, did they? I mean, I agree with you. On that front, the fact of the matter is Labor didn't win that election. Okay, Liberal absolutely lost it. But at the same time, it still does it amazes me when, in our case, we had a Prime Minister who got out there and a Environment Minister and a Finance Minister, and they just lied, were caught out on the lies, but yet they got back in. It just shows a lack of options, doesn't it? But as far as Canada goes, I cannot fathom why they put that government back in place. It
brings up two different interesting points. Isn't it interesting that the proposed Misinformation Act that the Labor Party did before the election targeted two things? One, they didn't want you talking about the integrity of elections. Yeah. And two, they didn't want talking about the integrity of banks. Yeah. Now, we're talking about both of those at the moment in terms of what power they might have in these scenarios.
But having said that, which is true, and this is okay, we're fantastically able to talk about these things. We have a free speech platform. But right now, Edge Radio Australia on Facebook, right now, Edge Radio Australia on Facebook right now is under restrictions, for a joke post about the picture and the cheating couple, whatever, clearly satire, and we're under restrictions for that, okay? That's social credit score. That's control, right? So our voice is not being heard as often and as far up in people's feeds because of something like that. When we've got to be careful and don't step on any toes. This is ridiculous. This is not a way to live. Government have got to understand. We keep saying it, but they work for us. They do not control us. And I see this. I see a digital currency as just another way of them controlling us.
Yeah, I mean, there's huge concerns. I agree. But at the same time, if we the people can rise up and say, listen, we don't want a CBDC in our nations, then, there are some things that crypto is advantageous for.
I agree.
You've got more efficiency and you've got smart contracts too. Let me just finish this. Smart contracts are very, very interesting in that they don't care about your credit history or score. Right. They don't care about your skin of your color. They don't care about your political view. It's just like, here's the deal, take it or leave it. Yep. And I think there's an opportunity now for people to become the bank, to be the lender, not the borrower. But you've got to act, in fact, very quickly.
Okay.
But correct if I'm wrong. The South Australia or somebody or other has passed some sort of law restricting donations to political parties. And what that does is entrench power with the two big guys. And, I think it's something that's really worth noting for people who in some ways agree with the disinformation bill, but they don't want to see, whatever the reason, they don't want to see people be misled or whatever reason they give, is the fact that it wasn't just about misinformation. It was also about things that could potentially be true, right? But you just weren't allowed to say them. And the idea that you can't, the idea that people like us can't say, you know what, if the Commonwealth Bank is going to have Bankware shut down all their branches, right? Well, don't be upset. That's a great thing because now there's no reason to bank with them anymore. Go to your credit union, go to your local friendly society, something like that. Your community banking, get away from all the big guys, right? Because you don't need them anymore. They don't serve any great purpose. It's only going to be a matter of time before we can't say that anymore. But that's not on.
Yep.
Yeah, that's legitimate points. Absolutely legitimate points. So it's like, guys, you've got to take one, get prepared. And we teach about this at Blu Sky Factory about how to get prepared. But secondly, you've got to take power and go, you got to put the pressure on the politicians. They do sweat. They do fear you. They do get nervous around people who are informed, actually have their facts and know what's going on. They don't have good answers for it. And they need to feel that pressure. Because they work for you, not you work for them.
Yeah, very, very true. Chuck just disappeared on us for a moment. There we go. Got to love the old tech here doing its thing.
No,
well, gentlemen.
Nothing to do with that.
No.
If we wrap up, I just want to ask one quick question or just bring something up. So we've talked about this, Derek and I have talked about this a few times over the years. There was a time in US history where they actually not only banned the use of gold, but they actually, you weren't allowed to own it anymore. You had to hand your gold in.
Yep.
Now, I think that would be enormously difficult for them to try to do today, but this is one of the things that I'm concerned about in the crypto space. If the crypto is held in a wallet or in something that's traceable to you, and the reason is because then they can just go, well, you're not allowed to hold it anymore. And you say, well, to hell with you, and they just take it. And so, I would want to make sure that I've got stuff which is anonymized so the government can't get their gritty hands on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, hey, we're living in a world right now where, although it's gone away from the conversation for a little bit, the Labor Party here in Australia is, and the Greens very, very keen on death taxes and, taxing you on the way in, taxing you on the way out, all of that sort of thing. There seems to be a money grab at every single opportunity. And, holding on to your freedom and holding on to, your ability to control your own money, it's a big thing. And that's why, quite frankly, I really encourage people to get into crypto. Yeah, that's from a personal standpoint. Obviously, I don't give financial advice. We don't do that sort of thing here, but that is my personal opinion.
Well, look, I can tell you that I'm finally doing it, and we've I've started to to experiment with that in a big way. I've been really pleasantly surprised about the potential use of it, and how it can improve things in my life. And that takes a lot. If you ask Derek and other people who've known me for a very long time, I was very anti-crypto. I was very like, well, I don't see what use it is. I don't see what use it serves. It's a big scam, all that sort of stuff. But, I see the light. It took me a while, but I see the light.
If JD Vance can change his opinion about Trump, you can do that about crypto, mate. So it's all good. Any closing thoughts there,
okay,
Derek? Sorry, mate, what was that?
No, I said, okay then. That was one great example.
Call you JD from now on.
That's right.
Look, I think it's time to get educated if you haven't already. Get ahead. There is still a window of opportunity to do so, but you need to take action. And I think there's opportunities to make generational wealth changes if you know what you're doing. So, we can get in touch with us at Blu Sky Factory. Just Derek, D-E-R-E-K, at bluskyfactory.com.au with no E in the blue. We'd love to help you out. We've got people who are just wanting this information and doing that. So, there are solutions there, but you've got to take action.
Sounds good. All right, it is time for us to part the ways. Thank you very much for being part of the show, and great to see you there, Shaq, dropping in, mate. Didn't expect that, so a bit of a surprise.
I try every now and then. Thought you might have missed me.
There you go. It's all about the fashion, isn't it, mate? It's all about the shirts. We're all color-coded today. We're doing well. Hey, thanks very much. Thanks for being part of the greater wealth here on Edge Radio Australia.